Greetings, everyone. I am just sitting down to draw and not really draw anything in particular. This is just sort of a exercise time. So what I have sort of in my mind at the moment is to just draw, let's say, a creature or some sort of plants that don't really exist, and go from there. So I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I'm going to just create what could be two eyes. Nothing serious. As I said, I'm not going anywhere in particular with this. It's a see where I end up kind of a thing. So I don't know if I'm going to turn this into a ninja warrior, a motorcycle driver. How about somebody wearing an apparatus on their nose that helps them to breathe? Because they're existing in a different environment. And because they need to be heard, their mouths will be open to breathe out and to speak. And maybe just because of them being used to whatever environment, they know to breathe in through this device, through their nose. So I'm only keeping slight symmetry with whatever I'm doing here. I think one of the things that I'm going to try to do is build out from the character and just sort of punch in detail as I go. And I'll figure out the pupils with whatever else I might have going on here. So now, do we need to have expression up here? I don't know. But we're inventing as we go. So we've given them kind of a wide mouth, a narrow chin. A bit more jowl to it. So it's almost like a swim apparatus. Okay. Interesting. Trying to think of how the upper part should be. How odd-worldly or other dimensionally something should be. And we're just inventing as we go. I guess we're deciding that there's going to be some hair. And I guess we've decided that there's going to be some sort of flow going this way. Could be air. We don't really need to have long hair on the sides because they have to put this apparatus on, and why suffer with that? Do they need lots of movement of the neck? I don't know. Let's say they do, but inside here, we can almost build a suit that might act like an exoskeleton, maybe. So from the torso to the neck to the head, we're going to need a little bit of movement inside here so they can turn and look around. Now what if, nope, don't know. Will they have their hands in front? Will they use hands? Will everything happen inside the torso cavity, and then there'll be external arms, or will this be like a soldier-like thing? An engineer building cool stuff kind of thing? Why would you need an exoskeleton? For strength, for not getting your hands dirty. Let's say because you'd need shoulder motion we're going to limit it. So we're not going to go beyond this point. And over here, chest cavity, elbows, will that be enclosed inside here? Let's say, sure. No, let's not do that. What if this then we are not going anywhere in particular with this. We've built an apple of sorts? Sure. What if the concept of this is then an in-person drone, which sounds ridiculous, but you need to have eyes on the ground, let's say, to make certain decisions rather than from afar off. Yeah, I don't know. And let's say that here we'll have a futuristic, some sort of futuristic sort of thing. We'll just say that it belongs to this group. That it was manufactured by such and such a thing, nondescript. Now we do need some sort of ability to maybe bend a little bit. You don't really need to bend much in the sternum, just in the abdomen, down here to the top of the hip, let's say. So we have some sort of flexible something or other. Same with here. What if we turn this into kind of a cyborg? That could be interesting. It's funny when you think there was a point where cybernetics, you really thought that it was going to be human beings that would be augmenting themselves, which it is happening, of course, that, human beings and machines working together. But you hear a lot more about, let's say, AI-driven humanoid-like machines, more so than humans driving machines. So there are concepts of what we can find people to do that is high risk, and that we're better off finding a way to get machines to do those things. So look at farming, for example. What machines are capable of now, or even 40 years ago, 100 years ago, consider that you needed human beings to do that. And you wouldn't be able to just randomly go out into a field all by yourself and bring in the harvest in just a few hours. And there are harvesting machines that are capable of phenomenal work that machines themselves can outpace humans for, driven by humans. I don't know, just interesting stuff. So human hands are fantastic for their articulation, and having a thumb is pretty awesome too. So we're going to think of how we're going to find something that can make this better overall, if this is an improvement to what humans are capable of, that you might want to upgrade to. Because I was looking at this off to one side. You know, could something like this be fantastic? Because, you know, you have joints, but if you had multiple joints, you know, and, well, maybe that would be an improvement. So let's try something like that. It's going to look kind of strange. And what's interesting is if we want to, we don't have to limit the amount of those things. We could actually put more or less beyond whatever the normal functionality that we think a hand should have. I think it's interesting that there are human beings that have extra fingers. It's called polydactyly. And you'd think all of them would just play the guitar. I don't know. It's interesting, though, to think about. Extra may not be the greatest of all things. It could be awesome. I don't know. But let's say for this one, we'll set up a version of a thumb here. And let's do one on this side too, so that they can have kind of a Medusa squid-like capability. So, how often do you think about what the future might hold and what you think things are going to be like 100 years from now, even 20 years from now, 1,000 years from now? Will we actually have people living outside of Earth? Will human beings be traveling back and forth from other places? I don't know. It's interesting to think about that. Human beings have lived here for so long on this planet. To think elsewhere, it's kind of extraordinary. I remember having a conversation with someone about how I think it's strange that people want to build robots that walk like humans when, in a way, human beings and the way that human beings move isn't super duper efficient. It's great for us. We're kind of top heavy creatures. And walking upright definitely has incredible benefits. We're not the fastest because of it. The wheel, or tank treads, or tracks, I guess they might be. I think they'd probably be more referring to that. Anyway, I think over most surfaces, you could probably find more efficiency in those. So having something that can walk upstairs, yeah, I don't know. But part of that conversation, I remember saying, like, if you're going to advance a creature and it's going to be better than what humans do, I think flight is far better to think of how that machine can get around, more so than just walking. I think that would be way better future wise. That if we just kind of hovered around, way cooler. That's just me, though, rambling on. So, let's now consider how the pelvis would work for this cyborg-like creature. So, as part of what you'd expect from cybernetics is a lack of certain functionalities or failings of a regular body. You wouldn't necessarily need to have a regular human anatomical need of certain structures of the body anymore. As I said, tank treads or no need for legs. I think hovering would be the better way to go, really and truly. necessarily need to have the same nervous system, digestive system, circulatory system, all that kind of stuff. If the main thing that you're, keeping is the brain, so food, well, would you be concerned that much about eating to keep the rest of the human flesh machine going when all you need is power cells, power core to keep that going, and then you just need whatever amount of nutrition just to keep the brain going? You wouldn't really require that much food. You may not even really be that concerned with taste, but I'm sure if you still have a tongue, you'd probably like, oh, I like salty things, I like sweet things, so you might still have access to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some sort of spot where it can rotate from. You already have this as a bending thing. But since this is a hovering cyborg drone-like creature, cyborg something or other, we're not that concerned about other things. So will it be kind of like a skirt-like thing, a bell shape? Do we want it to have some kind of height? Or, here's the idea. It'd be anti-gravity. So we'd use some sort of frequency way of manipulating itself around the environment. And it'll be without ports or exhaust as well. So interesting. So it does have some human-like form, but not really necessary. It's fun to think about, though. Like, how strange is it to think that there was a point in time where a hot air balloon was the most alien thing that anyone's ever seen. Pardon me. Like, that would have been fantastic to see something floating in the sky and then watch people get out of it. I'm sure people lost their minds when they first saw that. So we're building a vase body, I guess. I don't know. Now, what could we do with this side? Would we do it comparable to this side? Or just a different functionality? Missing something? Well, if it was missing, what would you replace it with? Something that's pretty much the same? I don't know. We're just going to make up another body of sorts, body part. And this one's going to be a little bit different than the other one, I think. We will give it different ranges of use and motion. So some of the most interesting things in the science world came from kind of a science fiction concept. There are people that like to consider themselves futurists, and some of those ideas are just phenomenal. Like you can see ideas about cell phones and, well, even like how 3D printing might work. You can see some of that in Star Trek episodes, how things might be constructed. And there are other things that don't make sense at all. For what you'd think you'd want in the future. So yeah, I don't know. I think there were people in my generation and even the generation before who truly thought there were going to be flying cars everywhere in the year 2000. It just didn't really happen that way. And I think, well, one of the reasons for that is how dangerous of a world would it be if someone had a flying car that they weren't taking great care of. You imagine that flying over your homestead. Someone's broken down, flying car. That'd be kind of spooky. Because I've seen cars on the road that I wonder, how are they going to get home? I don't need that flying overhead. That would not be awesome at all. So if stuff like that does come about, just think of how cars have control functions that can go beyond what the passenger would be capable of taking over and controlling all the time. So machines can think faster and apply the brakes quicker than you if it senses that there's danger ahead. If you fall asleep at the wheel, the machine might try to wake you up and say, well, you got to pay attention here. And then if not, if you pass out at the wheel, could your vehicle take over the operation and contact the authorities? I mean, those are neat things. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what to expect. They kind of do that now, self-driving cars. Let's add one more sort of control joint. Maybe we'll add another one after. Sure, let's add another one. And what we'll do with this one is we'll give it a comparable kind of functionality to the other hand. With a squid-like capability. Yeah, we were expecting a lot for the year 2000. I think we all wanted to live in a world where we didn't have to worry about things going out of control, and that somehow there'd be deterrents in place that would prevent lack of control. Just didn't happen that way. Not the way that we hoped. Let's do one up here. And we'll have it so that it's trying to come down here as well. But of course, it's not holding on to anything, so. And then we'll do one here. As I said, this is just an exercise anyway. We're not building anything in particular. It doesn't have to make sense. We'll give it pretend functionality. So I like that one better than that one. This one has a separation of its digits. Yeah, interesting. As a sideboard, what would be the purpose of hair? What would you need this for? Because it would be unnecessary. So is it artificial? Artificial turf? I don't know. I didn't know I was going here with this anyway, so. Now we'll add the eyes. Looking off to one side, looking down, looking directly at us. I don't know yet. Let's add some shock pupils. Somehow something happened there. Strange. Well, I feel like as far as exercise go, that might be as far as I feel like taking this one. It's hard to say what we'd get for humans and augmentation in a future where we're not really that concerned about just making things stay looking human. You know, do we need to build androids? Why do they have to look like humans? Why do we have to give them the means by which to emote? Do I want to see a machine look sad? Do we want a machine to recognize when we're feeling happy? It's interesting. No, I think that's probably going to be it for just sketching something in. I'll extend the shadow just a little bit. I think the next video will be, at least I'll plan on it anyway, of coming up with plants from another place or dimension or something. And maybe I'll make note of that. As a prompt for the next one. So I'll just add a couple little finishing touches on that. All right, cap is on. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with me. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And yeah, pick up a pen and paper and just doodle, because I think it's fun. Have a great day, everyone.